Now, for most Angolans, José Eduardo Dos Santos is the only president they've ever known. In power since 1979, he has been one of Africa's longest ruling leaders. But what legacy does he leave behind? CGTN's Voldee takes a look.
Angola's civil war was one of Africa's bloodiest. Fighting broke out after independence in 1975 and would last for 27 years. More than 500,000 people died.
Com derrota total.
Camaradas, membros do governo.
Many Angolans credit President José Eduardo Dos Santos for reviving the country. When he took office, Angola was in ruins, but he turned the country into one of the fastest growing economies in Africa, fueled by its oil. For some, Dos Santos is an example to the entire continent.
So Dos Santos is seen in the region and on the continent as having a country and a form of governance that many have aspired to. He dictated absolutely the terms of how the peace was going to be implemented. He was not donor dependent. He didn't have a UN peacekeeping mission on the continent. So he defined in his own terms how he was going to build the post-conflict state. So for many in the region, this is an example to follow.
Others are less convinced. Some critics say only a few have benefited from Angola's economic miracle.
His party and for the political elite around him, he has served incredibly well. You have the core supporters of the MPLA party, which also think of him as almost in this like a messiah. He has almost this godlike figure for segments of his party, where he is infallible, where Dos Santos has done very little that is wrong for the country. Then you will have segments within his own party who have been disappointed, who expected more. They are now in the opposition.
Angola's economy has also been struggling thanks to the fall in oil prices in 2014. Inflation hit 40% at the end of last year, and annual growth was less than 1%. Dos Santos' chosen successor has made clear the challenges. João Lourenço says his mission is to revive the economy. Even so, few expect Lourenço to stray too far from Dos Santos' approach to government. Voldee, Coralsa, CGTN.
Well, let's get to a quick update on that developing story out of Angola. I'm joined on the line from Luanda by CGTN's Angelo Coppola. Angelo, how is the voting process going so far from what you're seeing there?
Well, it's been very quiet. It's very orderly in the city at the moment. We're walking around. People are moving about their business. Many queues developing in the hundreds of polling stations within the capital city here. The president obviously declared today a public holiday, that's except for the shift workers who got the day off. And about an hour and a half ago, all the main political contenders have cast their votes. We had the president and his wife voting at the Catholic University at Kinshishi, and that was in Luanda. And then obviously the opposition leader, Samakuva, also voted around the same time as the Oscar Ribas polling station with his wife. So it seems, in the capital city at least, that it's been quiet, it's been orderly, and people are just casting their votes and hoping for change.
Angelo, this is quite historic for Angola because President José Eduardo Dos Santos is handing over after 38 years. So this is quite historic for that country. Do we know now when the polls are due to close, and what's the feeling there?
Well, for now, the polls are going to be closing at 7 o'clock local time. Counting will start shortly thereafter. We do know that we'll probably start seeing the first results coming through overnight, going and being consolidated at the counting center, which we'll be obviously visiting during the next 4 days or so. But bear in mind that there's over 12,000 polling stations across the country that have to be tallied and those votes sent through to the central counting area. So we're expecting to see some trend indications in the next couple of days. We're not expecting too many surprises, though. In the last elections, you'll be aware that the MPLA there took around 72% in that landslide vote. But the opposition parties are a little concerned because they're saying that some of their observers aren't allowed or weren't accredited to monitor the actual counting. So there are allegations already starting to surface about the fact that the voting might not be credible.
All right, Angelo Coppola joining us there on the line from Luanda.